Okay, good afternoon everyone. So at this time, we will tackle about z-test for proportion. So actually, the z-test for proportion is a type of statistical tool wherein it is considered also as a binomial experiment. So remember, in binomial experiment, there are only two outcomes. So the outcomes are the probability of success and the failure. So those outcome actually are both independent. Okay? So we have here one example. A recent survey done by a Philippine Housing Authority found that 35% of the population owns their homes. In a random sample of 240 heads of households, 78 responded that they own their homes. Okay? We have here at the 0.01 level of significance. Does that indicate a difference from the national population? So actually, we can verify this given situation through using these 6 steps. Now, the first one, we have to state the hypothesis. Step number 2, we have to identify the level of significance. And step number 3, the z-critical value. And step number 4, we have here the compute the test value for the z-test. And step number 5 is the decision rule, and for the last one is for the conclusion. But before we can proceed stating the hypothesis, first is we will have to identify if the given problem is directional or non-directional. But of course, in this problem, as we analyze this one, there is no actually statement that would indicate that this problem is directional. Okay? So therefore, it means that this problem is a non-directional or two-tailed test. Okay? So we will start with step number 1. The null hypothesis, according to the claim that P is equal to 0.35. Okay, we have here 35% of the population as its claim. No? So we have here the claim of the Philippine Housing Authority. Then against the alternative hypothesis, P is not equal to 0.35. Okay? Next, we will have to proceed now to the level of significance. Okay? So the level of significance, as indicated in the problem, we have here 0.01 level of significance. Step number 3, the z-critical value. So since this one is non-directional, of course, to find out the z-critical, okay, we have here 0.01 as given, so we will have to use, or we will subtract that from 1. So we have 1 minus 0.01 over 2. Okay? So this is actually the process of identifying the critical value. Divide this, so the answer is, we have 0.495. This one is what we call as the area. The area of the z-table. So we have here the area, 0.495. So by using the z-table, okay, 0.495 has the z-value of 2 point. Okay, actually, remember this one is 2-tailed, so therefore this is plus minus 2 point. Okay, if we have the area 0.495, if we're going to use that z-table, this one is corresponds to a z-value of 2.576. Plus minus in here because it is two-tailed. The fourth one, we will have to compute for the test value. But before that, we will have to identify this one, the p hat. No? Z is equal to p hat minus p over the square root of p times q. Q is referring to the probability of failure, and n is referring to the sample. Okay? So first, we have to identify. Now that in the problem, it is given that p is equal to 0.35. While our p hat is computed using the formula x over n, and that is equal to, we have here 78 now over 240. So we have here 78 divided by 240. So if we're going to divide that one, yeah, we have the answer as 0.325 no? The answer will be 0.325. This one is the value for the p hat. Okay? Next, this one, p is actually the probability of success. So we can now identify the value q. In here, we're given actually n is equal to 240. No? 240. So for this one, for the q, we know that in here q is equal to 1 minus p. And that is 1 minus the value of p is 0.35, and that is corresponds to a value of 0.65. So at this time, we can now manipulate that formula. No? So from that, okay, we will transfer that one in here. So we can have z is equal to the value of p hat, that is 0.325. No? 0.325 minus the value of p, we have 0.35 over square root of, okay, we have square root of p. The value of p is we have 0.35 multiplied by the value of q, which is 0.65. Okay? Then we have over, okay, over bilang s n, we have our n is 240. We have 240. So if we're going to use our calculator, we found out that our z has the value of, okay, negative 0.812. No? Okay, if we're going to use our calculator, we can now have or obtain a value of z that is equivalent to negative 0.812. At this moment, we can now proceed to step number 5. This is now the time for the decision rule. So remember, okay, that negative 0.812 is greater than our critical region from the left. We have negative 2.576, and this one is greater than that one for the negative, for the left hand side of this value. So therefore, do not reject, okay, in here, do not reject, okay, the non-hypothesis. Okay, anong naman ma-reject? Okay, at 0.0111. Okay, since what? Now, since we have this value, negative 0.812 is greater than the left value of 2.576 is negative 2.576. Okay? So we cannot reject. Therefore, what will be our conclusion? Therefore, okay? Therefore, there is not enough. There is not enough evidence. There is not enough evidence to reject. Okay? To reject the claim. Okay? And what was the claim? That 35% of the Filipinos own, okay, own their homes. Okay? So we have here from step number 1 actually, we identified that this one is the non-directional test, okay, because there is no statement that we could address that this equation is what? The directional. No, there is no statement that said greater than, more than, or less than. So non-directional. So all of these steps from step number 1 down to step number 6 are connected. Okay? Because we cannot conclude or we cannot make a conclusion without step number 1. Okay? And of course also the step number 2, because this is actually the quantity that we're going to use, particularly in identifying the critical value. So all of these steps are very important, particularly in determining this given situation or the claim. So of course, in the conclusion, therefore, there is not enough evidence to reject the claim that 35% of the Filipinos own their homes. The reason why is that because we fail in step number 5, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Kaya wala to i-reject, therefore, in other words, we will have to accept the null hypothesis. Okay? So meaning, do not reject the H or it means we have to accept the null hypothesis. Since we have here as evidence our computed z value, we have negative 0.812 is greater than negative 2.576. Okay? 2.576. So we can now make our conclusion like this one. So I hope that this video will help you particularly in answering a situation pertaining on the z-test for proportion.